I'm Dwight Drummond with CBC Toronto News, and this is your coronavirus update. Today, the largest single-day jump for our province. There are 60 new cases confirmed, bringing the total number of cases to 318. This includes 2 virus-related deaths and 5 cases that are now resolved. The number of cases under investigation in the province stands at 5,475, and the wait period for anyone who has been tested is currently between 5 and 7 days. Toronto health officials say a long-term care resident, a paramedic, and a person experiencing homelessness are among the new positive cases of COVID-19 in the city.
My team is actively investigating all possible contacts to assess potential health risks and will follow up directly with those who require further action.
The long-term care resident lives at the Seven Oaks home in Scarborough. It is now following outbreak protocols. The infected paramedic is in isolation at home. All paramedics are now required to check their temperature before they start a shift. The homeless person stayed at the Fred Victor Center downtown. Now, that shelter has introduced enhanced cleaning and are continuing to screen each person before intake. Toronto now has 161 positive cases, including 10 hospitalizations. The city has also announced a 60-day grace period for individuals and businesses to pay property taxes and utility bills. A guard at the Toronto South Detention Centre has tested positive for COVID-19. The jail guard had recently spent time overseas. He works in the admitting and discharge area of the facility. He would also be responsible for taking prisoners to and from court. It's unclear how the facility is dealing with this situation, but authorities have suspended personal visits at Ontario and federal prisons. The Toronto South facility houses more than 1,500 inmates. The province is stressing that social distancing and staying at home is essential to stop the spread of the virus, especially right now.
This coming weekend and early into next week is a very critical time. And as I said, with the number of people returning, starting last weekend and into the early part of this week that we were here, we're now coming into day 5, 7, and 8 of that post-return time.
The province says if everyone self-isolates, whether you have traveled or not, it could help stop the spread and keep everyone safe. As of now, Ontario is able to test about 2,000 people a day for the virus. By next week, that number will jump to 5,000. It is supposed to be the last day of March break for students in Ontario, but they'll be off for another 2 weeks because of COVID-19. Well, today the province rolled out new help for students being kept out of class. Nick Boisvert explains.
How do you spend March break during a pandemic? For Ontario's students and parents, it's meant lots of time at home and even some schoolwork.
Do math on a computer.
Yeah, a bit of math on the computer.
Other stuff.
Until now, we don't have any education from school, right? We're just using some tutorials from YouTube, the stuff we can find ourselves online.
And with schools closed for at least another 2 weeks, the province says kids stuck at home will have the chance to keep learning.
Right now, our government is focused on the immediate goal of preventing learning loss over the 2-week period following spring break.
The Ford government says a new online learning portal will help. It's full of content provided by TVO, including YouTube lessons, interactive games.
That's correct.
And some one-on-one tutoring between grades 6 and 10.
In a situation like this, you're right, online learning is definitely worth exploring.
I think we just have to be flexible and figure out the needs of our children and try to adjust.
Ontario is also cancelling standardized testing and waiving literacy requirements for graduation. They say those moves will make post-secondary applications as smooth as possible, considering the circumstances. Of course, those are changing every day. Education Minister Stephen Lecce says the government will stay flexible and let public health experts call the shots.
We have a plan for the interim period for the next 2 weeks, and we will have a plan should Ontario's Chief Medical Health Officer expand that order for an additional 2 weeks or for the entire remainder of the semester.
But for older high school students, there's not much in this online portal for them yet. What is there won't earn them any credits, and students are being advised to work at their own pace. Nick Boisvert, CBC News, Toronto.
The release of 2 popular video games has prompted gamers from across the GTA to press pause on social distancing. Dozens lined up outside of an EB Games store in the downtown core.
I'm actually living with my grandparents right now, so I have to be a little bit extra careful. I have hand sanitizer in my backpack, I'm super careful about stuff. But I don't know, something about this game, you just gotta come and get your hands on it, I guess.
You got nothing else to do. My work is shut down, so there's nothing. I've never had more time to play a game. Why not?
A long lineup formed outside the store as people waited to get their hands on Animal Crossing, New Horizons, and Doom. This comes a day after Toronto public health officials urged all non-essential businesses in the city to close down to help prevent further spread of the virus. The decision to go forward with the release drew a lot of backlash, including from the Premier, who called it unacceptable.
This is exactly what causes the spread. When people gather and they're in close proximity to each other, I just can't stress it enough. And if you're a parent and you know your child's going down there, don't let them go down. It's frustrating when I hear stories like this. I just can't stress it enough. Do not do that. And I'm frustrated, to be very frank, with the store owner that would allow this to happen. They have a responsibility. Everyone in this province has a responsibility to make sure we protect each other. And I'm very, very disappointed with the store owner that would do this.
Premier Ford added that the store owner could be fined. Both the province and the City of Toronto are investigating. In a statement on the company's website, EB Games said it is instituting social distancing practices in stores, such as only allowing in 10 customers at a time and not accepting cash. The company adds it's only letting in customers who reserve the games ahead of time. Now, couples hoping to say I do are now wondering what to do about their upcoming weddings. Public health officials are continuing to ask us not to have large gatherings, leading many people to call off their long-awaited nuptials. Lauren Pelly has the details.
It was the very first song that I ever slow danced to when I was a little girl, about maybe 4 or 5.
This was meant to be Shala Jalali's first dance at her 85-guest wedding here this Saturday. But amid the COVID-19 pandemic, Jalali and her fiancé called it off.
And there was just no way I was going to expose those people, everyone that I love, in one room and expose them to a potential disease. I would never be able to look back on my wedding day and say, yeah, this was the happiest day of my life. So that's not something I wanted to do.
With the wedding date so close, Jalali expects to lose thousands of dollars. And she's not the only one facing this dilemma. Online, many couples are turning to online wedding forums, trying to figure out what comes next and whether canceling or postponing their big day is the right approach. In Canada, there's an average of around 10,000 weddings every month. That means there's a whole lot of Canadian couples who could be facing disappointment. This wedding planner also expects an industry impact.
As of right now, everything is on hold for March and April. I would say everybody is doing their best to work with each other and work with their clients to minimize the impact and the financial implications.
We're going to load up the wagon.
Toronto florist Shannon Whalen is keeping busy sharing free flowers and selling hand-delivered bouquets, all because other vendors are offering up extra stock from so many canceled events.
Help yourself. Absolutely. Wash your hands when you get home, but help yourself. Here, help yourself.
Whalen says there's uncertainty about summer wedding season that's just around the corner.
That is what we rely on to pay throughout the winter months when things are quiet. So I can't even imagine people will be losing their businesses.
In Jalali's case, she's hoping to keep her vendors and rebook again in a few months or as far off as a year.
You know, last week or 10 days ago, the imagination was so different in how I was going to spend my Saturday, March 21st. It's still beautiful. It's a little devastating, but I feel good about my decision.
What matters right now, she says, is keeping her friends and family safe. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Brampton.
That's what we all should be doing right now. The Royal Canadian Legion is doing its part to help those in need. They are revamping a current program because of the outbreak to ensure all veterans have access to food. We joined some of the volunteers in Brampton.
You're good. To your left. I just left the military after 20 years staring at the first global crisis. Since I left, I was like most veterans, I wanted to get involved. Traditionally, what we at the Legion do is we support our veterans who need help with groceries by giving them gift cards. In this situation, that's not the best practice for us. So what we decided we would do is we would actually go out and make the purchase of groceries for the veterans and then deliver them to their homes, so they're not going out and exposing themselves.
I have a hard time asking for help, so for the Legion just to be taking that extra step forward and just saying, no, we're really going to help you guys, and them risking themselves coming out and delivering all this food, I'm truly grateful.
I want to drop that. Sorry. Excuse me, sir.
It's great to see everyone coming together in times like this. Mayor John Tory had a specific request for us today. Actually, not for us, from restaurant owners.
The city is also calling on all restaurants, and we know that those restaurants themselves are having a really hard time, but there are some that have stayed open to provide takeout and delivery food, and we're asking them that if they have any unsold food or good food, to consider donating it so that we can in turn pass that on to people who need that food.
Even before the mayor made that call out this afternoon, some restaurants were way ahead of him. Greg Ross shows us how.
Corey Fettiello is cooking up a very special takeout order at his restaurant Flock on Harbord Street.
We're going to have 8 of these. Each one holds about 20 liters, so 160 liters approximately, give or take. Maybe more, maybe less, but it'll feed, 500 to 600 people, I would say.
Those buckets are filled with a hearty chicken noodle soup that Fettiello and some of his staff spent the morning preparing. Now he's personally delivering it to a homeless shelter, something he's been doing every day since he closed his restaurants down on Tuesday.
We have 7 locations, and each location was stocked to serve about 400 people a day. We keep 2 days of food on hand, so you can see the volume of just perishable product that we're dealing with.
Fettiello decided that instead of letting it go to waste, he would give it to those who need it most. But in order to prepare it, he would need help. Fettiello was forced to lay off 120 people earlier this week, but a handful of them agreed to stay on and work for free.
I'm not going to leave them alone doing these. It's a lot of food that has to be prepped, and I'm healthy and I'm willing to help.
And a lot of staff want to come back and want to help and want to do their part. We're trying to be responsible and keep it at a minimal number. So today we have myself plus 3.
Just a short drive away from Flock, another kitchen is also preparing hundreds of meals for people in need.
We're just cutting tomatoes, jarring or getting sauce into liter containers.
Connor Jorn owns Sugo on Bloor Street West. After closing his doors Monday, Jorn immediately started preparing meals for shelters. By Wednesday, he had used up all of the inventory he had in stock, so he decided to order more.
We're closed for business, but we're still getting product in from our suppliers.
With all of the costs being absorbed by Joran and his business partners. And in addition to providing food to shelters, they're also trying to help others in their community.
We also said, if you know anyone that's desperate for food or lost their job, needs a little extra help.
Both restaurant owners admit they're taking a massive financial hit, but both say now is not the time to think about that.
For us, the most important thing is making sure that our team members, our staff, our community is taken care of.
I'm not so worried about myself. My immediate thoughts are with people that may have a harder time bouncing back.
Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Suzanne Leonard joins us now. And Suzanne, it is official. Spring has sprung, and it felt like it literally blew in this morning with that wind.
Yeah, it blasted through, didn't it? I almost got blown off the pavement on Front Street because of that gust front that came through. A bit of a wild ride, but I think it's a promising thing that we can all identify with. It's reassuring to know that with a blast of warm weather like this, there is a future ahead with warmer weather. So it gets us thinking positively down the line. Look at these temperatures. We topped out at 18 Toronto, 19 St. Catharines. London really plummeted through the morning hours when that cold front came through. And the temperatures as of 6 o'clock, single digits below zero already up around Barrie, Aurelia. We've had a little bit of snow today up around Muskoka. Snow. I'll get to that in just a second. I want to show you the current radar. It takes us up to almost 7 p.m. local time. So rain and green. We've had some thunder thundery rains roll through Ottawa, Montreal, as well as around the Golden Horseshoe region. That is a little bit of snow. Again, that's current satellite radar and current wind gusts as of these timestamps here. So obviously, as you're joining us at different times, you're going to be seeing these numbers change. 50 to 70 kilometer an hour winds. They're all backing out of the northwest. We topped out at 70, 80 kilometer an hour gusts earlier today. So we're dropping temperatures and wind speeds as we go ahead. -8. And we hit 18 degrees today by late morning in Toronto. Wind chills. So we've kind of jumped ahead in terms of that May feel this morning, and it will feel more like February in the overnight hours. But it doesn't last long. Such is typical of spring and fall, these clashing seasons, these very dynamic, changeable weather seasons. That is a cool northerly flow. So the warm air is pushed further south. The winds ease up. What's ahead? That's a little bit of precipitation around the Great Lakes, but nothing serious. Sunshine is coming up for both Saturday and Sunday. Departing low, high pressure Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon as well. But we've got a storm track coming out of the southern U.S. So that is a bit of snow, a few centimeters, I would say Sunday night into Monday day. We may mix over to a bit of rain. And then the long range forecast, we will be warming up a bit, but a touch unsettled through midweek.
Thanks, Suzanne. Remember, you can always find the very latest right here at cbc.ca/Toronto.